Hey gang, I'm Ruthann.
I'm Chris.
And we are GeekChic Promotions. It is time for Nerd Rage, but we're not here right now.
No, we're not.
We actually filmed this last Sunday, right before watching Game of Thrones. So spoilers, we haven't seen that yet. But we really want to talk about Endgame, but we didn't want to talk about it in the opening weekend. So we both saw it twice now. Chris saw it twice at the same day.
Yeah.
Which, are you doing okay? That's a lot.
It was like 10 hours apart. Like we saw it at like 7 a.m. and then we saw it at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Actually 7:45
a.m. and then 7 p.m.
7 p.m. So it was a little, And then we went to 2 baby showers in between. So
Interesting.
Well, our baby showers were bookended.
Yeah, with tragedy.
Very strange.
Well, then we definitely need these. So cheers.
Yes,
cheers to you. Cheers to you guys.
It's the last of my Game of Thrones.
Oh, this is
Pinot Noir.
Oh,
yes.
that's right. Yeah, we're going to be drinking the White Walker whiskey tonight, the Johnny Walker.
See it right over there. It's looking good.
So now this is nothing but spoilers. We're going to do nothing but spoilers here, kids.
Spoiler.
I feel like
How many times do we have to say it?
But I feel we should just get a sign behind us.
Yes,
I feel like because there's going to be one person who's just like, what? You spoiled everything. It's like, don't click on something that says spoilers.
Avengers. Spoilers.
Like,
Talking about Endgame.
Doing
all the
it.
way through.
All the way through. All right. So overall, I mean, it was a wild ride.
Yes, it was.
It definitely felt like 3 movies and 3 different times you're just like, oh my
very
God.
emotional movies.
And like, I don't know for you, but from at the get-go, like obviously starting with the scene with Hawkeye is so heartbreaking. But then going right into, they just went after Thanos, like right at the beginning.
Yes,
And
and it was kind of like,
yeah.
where do we go after
That's
that? Like literally I was thinking like, if they're going after Thanos now, the whole 3 hours can't be
this
it
one
can be
scene.
this happening. So.
And like, God, it was just so heartbreaking because then he's dead and then it's just over. And that's the moment that I was like, I don't know what's going to happen now.
When it was like 5 years later, I was like, holy shit.
And that was so well done because it was like 5 years. And you're like, before,
so
come on, before, later. You're like, no!
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and luckily they have Paul Rudd, who doesn't age ever. So he does look like it could have been just like 5 years ago for him. How is that possible?
I don't know.
That dude looks like he just walk off the set of Clueless.
But I mean, we could
like,
say
what
that
is going on?
literally for all of them, though. Kind
Yes
of. Like
and
Chris
no.
Evans, I'm like, he isn't, well, obviously, but like,
Yeah,
he didn't age at all either over the course of these last 10 years. Holy cow.
that's also true.
Yeah, I mean, he still looks great.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. aged.
Yeah.
He aged. He got a little bit more drawn looking. Like, he used to be very fresh-faced, and now he's like,
and that was really
looking older.
Also amazingly well done was the making everybody like smaller, and of course it was all like CGI.
In the beginning, when they had, Stark stuck alone up in that ship.
22 days.
For 22 days. They did a really good job of making him look really emaciated, like he was starving and dying, and his eyes were bloodshot and everything, and that was really well done. I mean, I guess we could say like with the technology these days, like of like making everybody look super young when they went back in time, and you saw Hank Pym, and you were like, oh my God, like his hair and everything.
Yeah.
It was really great, but.
Or even Ant-Man's, Hank Pym and then Howard Stark.
Yes,
looked
Howard
amazing
Stark,
too.
yeah, he looked real good. Yeah, it was just like, I mean, I see why they spent a lot of money.
And it was one of those things that like, obviously it was 3 hours. Like, obviously because so much happened, but at the end of it was like, that did not feel like 3 hours. Like that was just like,
nope.
It was really well done. How do you feel like this compares to Infinity War for you?
Well, God, like Infinity War was really, really good. Like I just watched it like about a week prior to seeing this, and I, when I finished watching it, I was like, damn, that's a good movie. But it's so different because in that way there's like a lot of lightheartedness, a lot of humor, and then they have this big grand battle at the end, and then you're in shock because half the people have died. But also, with Endgame, the whole goal is to try and get everybody back. So it's not like it's shocking, but it's also just like,
they're gonna fix it.
We're gonna fix it. Everything's gonna be okay. It's just a matter of how they're gonna fix it. Like what's gonna happen, and especially for those of us who like aren't familiar with the comic book storyline. So I think this one though was kind of like I went in there not knowing like how it was gonna get fixed, and I was like, well, clearly they have to find Thanos and they have to get the stones back. Was not expecting all the stones are destroyed. What I thought was going to happen after that is when Scott Lang came
this
back.
is a really good theory that I was like, oh yeah, that's a totally really good idea that they told me.
He's talking about, you know, being in the quantum realm and everything else, you know, where you're on a molecular level.
Yeah, you're brought down to atoms.
You're brought down to atoms, yeah, and I thought, oh, well, they're gonna go get the Infinity Stones and they're gonna piece them back together somehow. Like, that's where I thought it was going.
Yeah.
And it was not.
It was not.
It was a time heist.
I was the time heist, perfect.
Time heist.
We were talking about it earlier, how great, because I'm always very worried about time travel in movies. I know that sounds silly coming from me who loves Doctor Who and other BS.
But there's like a lot of, there's too many holes.
Okay. So there are a lot of things that go wrong with time travel, depending on what theory you're going by. And I was very glad that they went with the quantum theory.
That's the point, is like, what theory are they going by?
So they use the quantum theory is that you can't go back in time to change something in the future because
it'll alter everything.
Yeah, you going back in time will change everything. And things don't split off in the way that they do in like other movies and all that kind of stuff. And like, so if you went back and killed Thanos, then it doesn't matter.
It's still going to happen. It's just going to happen differently. And I think it was really funny of how they were like, if we just obey the time travel laws, like, don't bet on sports, don't talk to your past selves.
He's like, I'm sorry, wait, hold on. Are you actually basing this time heist on Back to the Future? And he's like, yes.
Incredible.
Because I keep forgetting, like, I wish I kind of rewatched some Ant-Man films, because obviously, like, to me, he's like one of the MVPs of this movie. But you forget that he's not the scientist.
Right.
You know, because you're so used to so much sciencey stuff happening around him that like, oh, he knows science. No, he's just some dude that was a good thief that now is wearing one of the most technologically advanced suits ever.
Exactly.
But it's so well done. Okay, so let's start with our favorite funny moments. Let's start a little lighter.
Speaking of that, I really liked when they're naming off all of the time travel movies because
Die Hard.
No, that's not one.
But that Hot Tub Time Machine got mentioned twice.
Like, it was kind of funny, to be honest.
Because that's like the most recent one, pretty much.
It was pretty great.
Like Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah.
Like, obviously.
Yeah. That was pretty great. My favorite part was really when Rocket Raccoon was like listing off like trying to get Thor to do his thing, and he was like
my family.
That was my family, and he's naming off like Quill, you know, and then he goes and that antenna chick, chick with the antenna.
He never mentioned Gamora, by the way. That's something I noticed.
He didn't,
and I think that was more on purpose. Oh no, that's right. Quill wasn't even there because I was gonna say like any mention of like Gamora around Quill is not a good idea.
Yeah, no.
But,
that was just so funny. The chick with the antenna.
And all of us went.
Yeah,
Mantis, right?
Mantis.
Yeah, right. Okay.
What was her name? That was very funny.
Okay, so there's some unexpected ones that I loved. So when Tony Stark figures out time travel and he decides he's gonna go show up and go see Captain America and everything, and Captain America just happens to be outside, and you hear from far away, and then it's like a good solid minute of his car speeding down, but it feels like forever because you're just so used to the sound, and then it's just him right in front, and the fact that he passed him and then backed up, that whole thing just felt because you never see that in movies, because that's what actually happens. It's not bam and he's there. There's this long drawn out thing of him coming out and down the driveway. That I liked a lot.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of other moments that just killed me, because
I liked when he called Thor Lebowski.
Lebowski.
He's on your left, Lebowski.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty hilarious. That was good because I was not thinking of that until he said it, and then I was like, oh my God, he's exactly like Big Lebowski. Exactly. That was pretty great.
And it's so funny because I always think, because I'm so used to in movies, you can't mention other movies and you can't mention it because of I'm like, oh, they don't give a fuck. This is Avengers.
No way.
This is Disney. They can afford it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Which, by the way, I have to say, I'm not completely on board with Fat Thor.
This is one contention.
He's like my eye candy. But
I like that that's part of the bit.
Oh, I know.
But there's also the America's ass line. That was the other line I was going to mention. It was one of my favorites.
That's America's ass, yeah.
That is America's ass.
America's
The way he looks away, like poses for a second, then keeps going. And like little stuff that they fit in that was very meta, like when they went back in time for at the end of the first Avengers movie when they're all standing around Loki and he's like, I'll take that drink now if you know, that's possible. And like they all pose for a second. He's like, all right, we can stand around here posing all day. We got to get this moving.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes. Like all that little like stuff was just so well done. And like Tony's daughter was so adorable. Like that was actually one of the, because people have mentioned like they cried X amount of times, but I probably cried insurmountable numbers of times.
It was really funny. I really liked like his rapport with her when, you know, he was putting her to bed and he's like,
your face goes here.
And he's
like, go to sleep, Bryce, sell all your toys.
And she's like, that's a horrible story. He's like, what are you talking about? That's your favorite story. Yeah. You know, I mean, it was very cute. And he was like, go to sleep, Bryce, I'm going to sell all your toys.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was just like very cute, very adorable.
It was the scene with Happy that broke me at the very end. With, what do you want to eat? Ham burgers.
Cheese.
Cheese burgers.
Yeah.
I'll get you all the cheese. Like that's, I was just like, oh my god, I'll get you all the cheeseburgers, anything you want.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. Then there's, so as we mentioned on our stream, technically last week, I am not great to watch movies with because I blurt stuff out and all that kind of stuff. So in the first viewing,
which by the way, she hates spoilers, but like all of her reactions are spoilery, especially if she's already seen the movie.
It's
so
even
if you're sitting next to her and you haven't seen the movie, it's the worst. Which is why I was unhappy when you said you were seeing the movie first, because I like, she's gonna spoil everything. She's gonna be sitting next to me. She's gonna react before the scene because she knows what's coming, which you did out of the gate.
Because also I knew everybody around me had not seen it. I would have been a lot more reserved.
As soon as that Hawkeye thing came on, you went, oh, before anything even happened, you spoiled it. I'm like, anybody who heard that all of a sudden was prepared for something horrible to happen.
It was just so sad.
See?
It was so sad. I think I made that same sound at the first time I saw it too. Like as soon as I saw Hawkeye, I was like, oh no. Like so sad.
The worst.
The worst. So twice, the two things that I did that made the first audience that I was with like, because it was when they went back in time for Thor 2 to get the both stones, right? Or no, to get I'm calling it the bloodstone, the whatever stone to take out of Natalie Portman. And the first, when you first see, are you gonna try to do it? Okay. So I have this thing going on my screen. We can't see the screen right now, so we can't see what we're filming. So blind your eyes for a second. Oh, there we go.
I don't know how long we've been talking, for Christ's sake. Turns out, guys, it is 13 minutes. I knew we weren't going to be able to tell. Anyway, I'm setting the timer now, so I won't do that again.
Okay.
Apologies.
Apologies. I could probably edit that out. It's fine. Yeah. I don't even know what I was talking about. The first time that I saw Loki on the screen and he's just laying down, I was like, and then at the end, so this is what's interesting is a lot of people told everybody that there was no after credit scene. Technically, there wasn't a scene, but there was a sound, and like everybody has their theories. My first thought, and I know it's incorrect, but my first thought was because it's the sound that so similar to the Iron Suit being made in the first Iron Man movie, that it was either the daughter making her own because she loves the garage, like she said earlier, or it was T'Challa's little sister, and I can't remember her name at the moment, but I want her to be Iron Man so bad. So that was like my two things, or it was just like a perfect like homage to him because it was like that same sound of him building.
Yeah, like going back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Which, you know, at the ending scene was kind of lends itself to that, to be honest, because they brought back everybody who was from, you know, the very first Iron Man movie, which started it all, you know, with Jon Favreau, you know, who basically led the charge on that whole thing and is the reason why all these movies exist. So I didn't know if it was like an homage to him or, you know, if it was something else, but I'm still trying to figure it out.
I know, everybody has their theories.
We have theories.
Yes.
We have theories.
So the other theory being, now that we've kind of concluded this version of the Avengers, if we're staying within the Marvel universe, the next big is Galactus, and the only way you bring in Galactus is through Fantastic Four, and your first big villain with them is Doctor Doom, who also has a metal face thing. So maybe he's making. I don't know.
And I didn't think. I mean, obviously they have to reboot Fantastic Four, which
for so many reasons.
but they own it now, so it's like fine.
Yeah.
You know, so they're gonna do right by it. They've done right by everything else.
Yeah.
I have absolute faith.
I feel like it's gonna be a minute, but I also felt that way about Spider-Man, and we've had 3 different iterations of Spider-Man.
But also, we now have another Spider-Man movie coming with Tom Holland, and Tom Holland is the best.
He is the best.
Their casting choices seem
so perfect,
weird, but then they wind up. Absolutely.
Actually, I'm gonna bring up a little problem I had with Endgame. Speaking of Tom Holland, so at the very end, obviously, like those who were snapped away 5 years ago are all back, and like life is going back, and everybody goes back to high school now. So does that mean? Because obviously, you can't spend 5 years in high school.
Well, he was gone for 5 years.
He was, but his best friend must have also been snapped away.
Right.
And so now it's like 50% of them from 5 years ago are now just going to school again now. Right?
Yes,
okay.
That would be correct.
Okay, because that was my first thing, and I was like,
because they were brought back 5 years later, but to them it was the blink of an eye.
Yeah, it was blink of the eye.
Yeah.
So, because like for a second I was like like looking around like, are we gonna see like some 21-year-old kids just like walking around high school? Because I was like, does that mean that like high school stopped? Because it did show that like ball games stopped and like all the stuff stopped. I'm like, do people just stop going to school?
No, I don't think anybody. I don't think stuff like that stopped. I mean, like they still had functionality. Like there were still people left. It was just very, very few.
Yeah.
You know, when you take away 50% of your population, you know, you're just, you know, it's just sparse.
Yeah.
You know, and it takes you a long time to do stuff. Like, you know, companies have to restructure. Like you imagine it on a grand scale, and you think, you know, half your teachers are gone. Like, you just have to find time to get back on track. But I feel like that's why they did 5 years later, and they showed people struggling. Which, by the way, the guy who was talking at the beginning about going on a date was the director. So, Joe Russo, I think that's who it was. So. Which was like a really good place to like show you how people were struggling 5 years later. You know, just like
you
go
can't even go on a date
and then
like,
you end up crying.
Both of you are crying before dessert. Yeah.
So, but like you go on a date again, you know, because like
everybody
is struggling with what happened to them, and I kind of got like where Tony was coming from. You know, when he was one of the lucky ones, he didn't lose his significant other, and they ended up having a kid and living off the grid, you know, or whatever. Yeah. And it was just like, you don't want to risk it, but at the same time, you know, all I kept thinking about was Peter Parker, you know, and that kid dying in his arms.
And it also the line that his father said to him of like, how he hopes that he didn't have another son, or have a son because,
Who needs
for
another
him,
copy of himself.
Yeah, and for him, and he even said, I forget the exact wording, but that like, I only fight for me, or like, number one is always me. And I think that also played into him being like, yeah, I'd risk it all. But even though, like, technically by that point he'd already been like, I'm going to do this, like the time travel and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And like, we did talk about this earlier of the fact
that
that like
up so beautifully, by the way. Like they tied up every single loose end, everything. Everybody got closure. Every single character.
Except for the one character that they left off because he's going to have his own TV show, which is Loki. Because he obviously is alive now since he took the Tesseract earlier than he was supposed to and disappeared.
Yeah. Probably. No, because when he took the Tesseract and disappeared, then it would be where they found him, which was with Matt Damon doing a stage where he was like
yes and
pretending.
No, because also there's all the fan theories because of when Thanos killed him in Infinity War. If you rewatch it, which I rewatched the scene again in between the two viewings, so there's like a big explosion and he flies in one direction, but then all of a sudden he appears from a totally different part of the ship and comes out for his whole like, I pledge my undying allegiance to you before he goes to stab. And there's the other theory because
you're saying that like he was not real or something like that, or like
either not real or the different version. There's so many theories, but we do know he has a TV show. Like that's already been dropped. So it could be that it's just before, like it's a whole different area, but I wouldn't be surprised if they like do some trickery because it was such a poignant moment to show that Loki took it and then like.
I know, but I figured it just went seamlessly into the other movie.
Yeah.
To be honest, like that didn't bother me. Like they really did wrap it up, you know, with returning everything to where it was supposed to be. Even Thor's hammer went back to where it was supposed to be at the end. Like everything was returned.
As soon as, because like we talked about all of our theories beforehand, and I felt like we definitely were losing Captain and Stark, but like either like one dies, one doesn't. I wasn't sure like which of those
I knew
two
Stark was dying for sure because he was not signed on for any more movies. And
Yeah.
so the only way they could send him out was in a big grand style, and I figured that was that. Captain America did not know what was going to happen with him. I'll be honest.
It was as soon as he picked up the hammer and he could. I mean, that was
an
amazing moment.
Yes.
And I just loved Thor. I knew it because we did have that scene in Avengers Ultron where he like had it and it like shifted. It, like,
I don't know if that was one of my favorite scenes or if it was him being so beaten down and then getting up, tightening his cracked, broken shield
With
around
that, like, blood,
his injured arm, and getting ready to like just keep on fighting,
going. Yeah.
even though it was just him all by himself, and it was just like this moment of like, good God, he is just gonna. Like, is it going to be just him? And then with everybody coming in around him, I feel like I cried in relief along with him. Like, I was like, oh my God.
It was you know, hey, Sam, look behind you. And it was just like, oh.
Yes, it was.
Oh God. So for me, yes, that was the relief. But then like, it was, I'm going to start crying about Spider-Man first grabbing Stark and be like, oh, Mr. Stark, Mr. Stark.
You won't believe it. What happened? Like it was turning to dust, and then like all of a sudden I was back, and Doctor Strange was there, and he was like, it's been 5 years.
We gotta go. And he just grabbed him. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is nice.
This is nice. And then at the end when Stark was dying and
had the same, and he said the same line to him. He said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Stark," and I was like, "Okay, well, I'm done." Like just like tears streaming.
Very emotional, and I feel like even though I'm not really a fan of like Pepper Potts, she said the exact right thing. Like
oh my God.
was like.
Pepper Potts' this whole movie was the best.
Yeah, she was.
She
was
seen
all right.
Pepper Potts. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, she was like, "We're gonna be all right," which is exactly what he needed to hear. Yeah, it was. It was like, it got me. Like.
It broke me.
Holy crap.
Fuck.
So, yeah. Man.
And just that slow moment when like Stark turns to, when everything is just at its worst and Stark turns to Doctor Strange and he just goes,
just one.
Just one. This is it.
This is the one.
And like you just
that
know.
Works. You know what he has to do. And he's like, this is it. He has to save the world.
He does.
He literally, and when he says like, I am Iron Man, it is so good. It's like
so satisfying.
Yes, it's so satisfying. It takes you back to like, the first Iron Man movie, like everything where it all began. Like
it was interesting. The audience that we saw it the second time together, when Thanos snaps and nothing happens, the entire audience laughed. Did your first audience do that?
No, but keep in mind I saw it at 7:45 a.m. and it was barely.
Yeah, that's true. Except for that child.
Except for the crying child.
Fuck up, child! I don't care if it's 7 a.m. You're still not supposed to be here. It's my movie.
A surprising amount of children in that 7:45 a.m. showing, but yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna give this. If we're doing 10 stars, I'm gonna give it 10 out of 10.
I would give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else I could have asked for.
It was perfect. It honestly could not have been better.
So we joked about this a little bit at dinner, but I need to put this out to the internet because I need a support system, because like she was talking about how she didn't like the fat Thor. I was a little too okay with the Banner Hulk. Like I was a little too attracted to Banner Hulk. I have a problem, guys. And I'm sure this is the internet, so I'm sure I'm not the only one. But like, it's a problem. Like everyone's just like, this shouldn't be. I'm so attracted to this right now. I'm very confused.
Nope. I mean, Captain America with his glorious hair when he's shaving in the beginning. You just see his flowing hair.
Oh yeah, just those beautiful golden locks.
Yeah.
That's America's ass.
Yeah,
like still.
It's pretty good. Of course, like, but Paul Rudd will always be like, the funny everyman that like everyone can relate to.
Yeah,
where he's like, Captain Steve America, Rogers.
Sir. Yeah, just all the names.
It's like, that's how we all would be in the presence of Captain America.
Captain Rogers, Sir Stephen America.
It was pretty great.
That was, and like, the way he would just...
And he saw, by the way, he's the real hero of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because
so he's the MVP.
He came back and he was like, I know how to fix everything. And like,
yeah,
he was the star. Yeah, which was unexpected for me.
So sweet when he saw his daughter. Just like, you're just so big.
Yeah.
Like, how do you, I don't know how you'd wrap your mind around that when it would feel like 5 hours to you.
I felt it
5 years
when
for
he was
else.
running around checking the names and he was looking for her. I felt it.
Yeah.
Like, I felt it. And then when he instead saw his own name, it was almost like a half relief, half
like the fuck?
Yeah. Like, it was like I knew he was gonna find his own, but it was just like a very weird emotional moment of like,
and that kid,
knowing that panic.
Was
I
it
would
just
have
me?
That panic.
Was the kid that was on the bicycle that he talked to? He looked really familiar to me.
I don't know.
But that was really well done too. Just kid, what happened? And just looks and just keeps on going.
Yeah, he just kind of looked right through him.
Yeah,
it was just like.
Just like broken after everything.
Like how do you not know?
Yeah.
Like wow. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was just such a good movie, and I was like, sorry that like we're just like stumbling because it's hard to take
all over the place with this. Yeah, it really was, and honestly, it felt like there was a hole in my heart when it was over with because it was like these characters have been with us for a decade.
And it doesn't even feel that long though, because like
no, it doesn't. But
that's
like,
been
now
basically both of our careers in LA,
right?
Like for both of us, like that, and it's just like it feels like
it's a significant
I
part of
just snap my fingers.
Your life. Well, and the thing is like and honestly, like I had told you earlier, I didn't expect Black Widow to die. I expected it to be Hawkeye.
Oh, and that
whole
scene,
flip,
the flip, that flip was perfect, right? Because the setup was that he was turned so dark and was so violent, and like in a way he didn't even want to see his family that way, or like his family to see him that way, and it was just that was really well done, and I was like, yeah, it's actually more heartbreaking to lose Black Widow.
Yeah, but she was like, the mistakes of the past, they stay in the past, and it was like I have to say, like it does feel like things were wrapped up so well, but it still left me feeling kind of hollow afterwards. Like I'm gonna miss some friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, especially like with Captain America being old at the end.
Yeah.
And having lived the life.
That makeup was so good.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously everything is perfect, but like that is the first time I've ever seen like aging makeup look good.
It was really well done, and it left me feeling satisfied, but also very sad.
Yeah.
So.
There's so many, to me, like poignant, like acting moments too, because as silly as Fat Thor was, like the scene when they first grab him and when Banner says Thanos' name, and there's just that pause when like the last 5 years just like, and he goes back and he's like, don't you ever say that name. And I was just like, oh my God. Because I can't imagine, like in that moment is so poignant too. And when they're like, what did you do? And he's like, I went for the head. Because like, I can't imagine because Thor almost thought he won. We almost thought he won.
Yeah.
Like, and then just that like, you should have gone for the head. And then that's what changed. I can't even. From 1 to even, I can't. So it was so good, and like I'm glad that we're recording this now. I do feel funny because like we're gonna have a week before this post, and I'm sure like we'll have different feelings, and there'll be all the different research and all the different articles that'll come out like between then and now. But so much good stuff. Now, how do we feel about Captain Marvel in this movie? Because she would actually film this before Captain Marvel.
I actually. See, I was very lukewarm about her in the beginning because the movie was good, but like I felt as a character she was a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? She didn't have a lot of charisma. Okay.
The only point that she had charisma was like, "Hey, Peter Parker,
yes,
you got something for me?" That was the only time that we saw her back.
Yes, and I thought she was a badass, like in that whole scene where, you know, she was with Thanos and like he tries to headbutt her and it goes and she doesn't even move. I was like, oh, so badass. And like when like she grabbed, you know, the glove and Peter's like, you're gonna have a hard time like getting through there, and all the women come together and they're like, oh, she's got help. And I was like, oh, amazing. Bam, bam, bam. Every single like Marvel Universe woman was there and you were just like, this is so cool.
Get it, lady.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many cool moments that she had with her, and I didn't mind her in this movie. I actually wish there was a little bit more of her.
I wanted more of her. Yeah. I really want to have her a bigger part.
But she had fair points of saving everybody else in the universe who didn't have Avengers.
And I love, like, no matter who brought it up was, like, put in their place. Like, Rocket Raccoon, like, oh, you gonna get another haircut? And I love, because I did see some people posting about, like, I don't know how I feel about her haircut. Fuck you, read a comic. Like, that's her hair in the comic. Like, settle down.
I don't think it mattered. Like, I was like,
whatever.
Who cares about her
hair? Like... Anyway. Of all the things to care
about.
But
also, like, with Thor, it's like short hair, long hair. Short hair, long hair. It's like, did anybody make a peep about his hair?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, the movie was incredible. It was one of the most emotional roller coasters I've ever been on in a movie.
Same here.
And, I mean, this is...
Did not expect that.
So sorry, guys. She put the timer on to say what we
can't see it.
This might be my favorite video that we've done. Cause
this is it. This is the end. Time's up. The alarm has gone off. Time to end this show.
I mean, there was more stuff we want to talk about. We could talk for days,
yes.
And all that stuff, but we're really excited to see.
We can also touch on it in a couple weeks if people still want to talk about it, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, we definitely can. But we love you guys, so we're gonna, like, speaking of heartache, we're about to watch the episode of Game of Thrones, so...
Yep, might be a bad week for the Starks all around, guys.
Ooh. So, yeah, more wine and more whiskey is going to be necessary. And, yeah, we will see you next week. We might be doing it a little earlier. We'll see. Again, scheduling and everything is getting a little crazy. But we love you guys. Happy Avengers
weekend. Yes.
Man, what a week.
What a week. Yep, and TBD on what we talk about next time.
Yeah, TBD, but love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.